this has been a long, long time in coming. You know, every moment happens at the right moment, and this is the moment. I'm really, really happy to be sitting here on this table with these gentlemen. To my right, Joel Julian, member of the media. To his right, Johanse Audike, behavior change consultant. I'm going to get that right by the time these episodes are in.
Yeah.
And another good friend to Johanse's right, Blaze. I mean, who needs no introduction?
None.
The topic at hand is a topic that we need to discuss. And I want to presence the fact that we are not here talking on behalf of all men, but we're here to talk as four men who are aware of topics that are affecting all men, that are affecting women, are affecting our nation globally. And part of what we really want to do is to have that discussion over a period of time and talk the things that need to be talked. And today's topic, what better to talk about with our title being manhood than what does it take to be a man? What do we understand by manhood? We hear the thing manly man, be a man, stand up like a man.
Who's more man?
Who's more man? Yeah, all of it.
As a man.
As a man.
Yeah.
What does it all mean? What do we understand by that?
Right.
And any free ball it.
I don't like the term free ball, but we can start. Honestly, I believe every time I log on to social media, somebody is telling me what a man is supposed to be. And that's always concerning. But for me, what I think a man is, I think a man is somebody who provides, somebody who does what needs to be done. You know, there are a lot of things that we have to set our mind to, and it's just ensuring that you commit, and whatever you commit to, you ensure that it reaches to its fruition. Generally, what I think is a man, you know. I don't know if that also stems beyond man, but you know.
If we start with the title of the show, manhood, what that means. We're not talking about the colloquial term or the other term that most people may immediately direct themselves to, but manhood by the dictionary meaning is that almost that transition, that coming out from being a boy to a man.
Right.
And that has so many meanings to so many people. Like what might be a man to someone else might be what a man it takes to be a man to me, or to my partner, or to my parents.
And that's why I think is important to have a discussion like this, because we can't necessarily have a linear sense of what a man is. And hearing four men discussing it, I think, real important. And it will help other men hear exactly what's there. So maybe they could even put a little piece and find out what exactly is a man to them. And then, being a man at 18, when you're 25, it means something different. When you have a family, it means something different. When, etc., etc., etc. So being able to define it for yourself, because Joel, you talk about social media, right? That in itself, and that helps me even lead to how I would describe it. Being a man is a rock in the midst of the ocean, and being able to maintain yourself even when the waves beating against you. So a rock is consistent. A rock could take a lot, and sometimes you have to stay strong until the sea get calm. The sea could also be in the midst of all the people telling you what is a man. You need to be this, you need to be that, you need to be there. But you being able to maintain, and you maintaining also being a protector, provider, etc., etc. So I like the analogy of being a rock in the midst of the ocean.
Johanse going deep.
And this is something, I mean, when someone asks, what is a man, right? I mean, we all learn from different people what a man is. Right. Like growing up now, I mean, my father was a soldier. You know, soldiers are, you know, they're very militant. Yeah, they're taking it hard. And, you know, so I learned, well, you know, being a man, hey, you know, you need to do certain things, and you don't let anybody advantage you, and be strong, and you know, these are different things. And then somebody else might learn, well, you know, to be a man, you have to be in contact with your emotions, and I never see my father cry. He's a hard man, which I would say is a hard man. You know what I mean? And kind of is like different mixes, because you might learn not everybody grew up with a dad, but you might learn from an uncle, you might learn from a teacher. So there's mixing and matching going on, and you form your own concept of being a proper man in your books. I think we all have something different, and because we come from different experiences.
Yeah.
So being a man is something, when you ask that term, it's very complex.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, it is. I like the analogy with a rock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then somebody might be a light rock.
A porous rock.
A porous rock, a coral.
Yeah.
And it just sail over on the side. You understand?
Yeah, but Blaze, I agree to you, like, you know, because my father-in-law is a man.
Hard man. Yeah.
Because he is also like a police officer.
Right.
Retired police
Militant,
officer.
yeah.
But apart from that, you know, he's a fix-it. Fix the air condition. Fix television. I'll fix it.
Handy.
That's not me.
And that's not me too.
Not me at
That's
all.
not me either.
That's not me at all. So sometimes, you know, if something happens at home that need fixing, my wife calling her father, and he must come home and see me like,
He's not a man.
What is
What kind of
What
man
kind of
you
man?
is?
That's what I'm saying. You come down to what kind of man you are. And therefore, when you say what kind of man you are, I ask myself as well, do I understand? Sometimes I wonder to myself, am I'm at several stages of being what could be a man or what is understood as a man? Right. Because they always say, you know, even in women, and I know we're starting off here maybe on some heavy topics here, but women somehow coming into environment don't want to see a man being comfortable now. So the same way you say your father-in-law coming into the house, if I am home and wifey comes through the door and my foot up and I watch a little Netflix, now there could have been 10 things done.
Why you watching on Netflix or something?
Well, I mean, manly things, right? We're watching manly things. And,
You're watching nature.
And I am saying to myself, okay, well, and I just took out the garbage, washed the dishes, there might even be food on the stove.
Yeah.
I might have a whole day at work, whatever the case may be, but it's the fact that they're comfortable at that particular point. It's like, no. What is happening here? You know, you could have helped with this, or you could have helped with that. And therefore, I ask, in that particular context, what does she understand by what it takes to be a man? Am I supposed to know, as with your father-in-law, am I supposed to know how to fix everything in the house? Because you are very good at what you do, which he probably can't do. But because you can't fix something, what kind of man are you? And I ask myself in many other situations, what am I being man enough in taking care of a family? Yeah. So even within myself, I am questioning, what does it take to be a man? And then you brought up the point with regards to crying. Is that what we understand, or most people understand, to not, and then I even, in going forward, my son, at 6 years old, I am thinking, do I tell him, stop crying? Am I, and you will probably be able to give us more of the science of that, am I affecting his growth and what he then becomes by already stymieing the fact that he shouldn't cry and not expressing that emotion? Am I setting him up in somebody else's eyes not to be a man?
Okay. Robert, even the dimensions you bring, and even Joel, what you're saying, like, I remember two questioning that, right? Because when I was growing up, my grandmother was a very, you know, those grannies who like to quarrel and talk about everything.
Yeah.
Right? And everything you're doing may or may not be good enough.
Right.
So at a certain point, I was like, I want to go out in the yard. Nah, I'm not doing nothing. Right? But because of that, when I actually got my own home, I didn't know how to do anything. And I had to learn how to do things myself. But I also saw other men learning how to manage. So they didn't have any of the skills. But they had the money.
Right.
So they know, I need to pay this person to do this, pay this person to do this. I need to walk around and inspect and look and see. So they didn't have the skills.
Right.
But they also manage. So I added a next dimension to that there. Right? And it's interesting in that word, manage, is man. Right? And I think that men, even if you want to go a little biblical, right? That's what Adam was set to do. He was meant to manage the resources. He didn't, all the animals doing what they're doing, the nature doing what they're doing, but he was there to manage things. And I think that word manage, now, I don't want to get too semantic, but manage has its different complexities. But if you're able to manage a household, where it is you fixing things yourself, or you managing the people that fixing it, I think that will give a good a good definition of what a man could be in those scenarios.
Yeah, because not everybody. I mean, I don't really fix things too good. I'll try. You know, I replaced a toilet seat the other day, and to me that was a real major accomplishment. You understand what I'm saying? Because I had to go on there and thing, and and I didn't get the kudos.
No employee
but what you're saying there, Johansi, is also very important, and I am in that group where I would find the person to do it, and find the person at a reasonable price to make sure nobody in robbing me. I must be aware of these things. Right. You know what I mean? And get the job done within the time that it's supposed to be done, and get it done properly, and hopefully get a little lanyard too. That's how, to me, that's how I would fix things.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which cannot be discounted. But if I know my father-in-law coming, I'll get up the couch and I'm running the back or something.
Say assess the situation.
Yeah.
You have some kind of awareness of what's happening.
Yeah.
But you brought to a point, Johan, say when where you said that living with your grandmother and you moved out on your own. That in itself sometimes is being considered to be a man. Yeah. If you're home,
you're turn man.
You're turn man. You moved out. Man. You're taking care of things.
Right. What age you moved out?
17.
17?
17. I went to England.
You got thrown out, or you moved?
I decided.
What age you moved out, Joel?
By early 20s.
Yeah, you want to see?
I think 21.
Yeah, I moved out about 23.
Yeah.
And to me that like when I moved out, Mom, you was like, well, where you moving out for? You have no reason to move out. Correct. Things comfortable here, but in me, I wanted to conduct my own affairs.
Yeah. Now, are you moving out in certain cases at a young age? In my case, I migrated to England. I'm saying that, are you moving out in certain circumstances? Because like you said, conduct your own affairs. If you grow up in a household like me, they have no funny business going on under their roof.
Yeah.
So therefore, in order to be a man and do your thing, you say after before marriage,
the business funny.
The business funny.
Yeah.
You decide, okay, well, let me go and rent somewhere, let me move somewhere. But sometimes you're hanging your hat higher than you could reach it.
Exactly.
And you're moving out maybe for the wrong reasons. And to stay home, I have friends who are still living with their parents. It could be that they're now taking care of the household, they're now paying the mortgage, or they simply, to get a mortgage now is like, in some cases, man or not, money is money. It's another M word, but it still might be the word that might be forthcoming to you. Yeah. And so, are we then being judged on things that you're doing your best to do? And you're doing the things, again, we come back down to what is there then, Johan, say maybe, I could direct this to you, is there then a category or a group of things or checklist of what are these 5 top things that constitute being a man? That I don't feel less of a man, or the people that are listening to.
But Johan, see, even before you answer that, I want to ask you, ask another question, is that who do we need judging though?
Well, you see, that is the thing, right?
Who do we need judging?
Put it this way, I believe, some people say, I don't know nobody judge me. That's erroneous, because you'll always be judged all the time.
Always.
Right? So if you know that you'll always be judged, then what you should do, and you say 5 things to be a man, I think I'll go with one thing. Choose something and do it real good. Choose something and do it to the best of your ability. Back in the day, like when it had blacksmith, you are a blacksmith, your father is a blacksmith.
The whole lineage.
Everybody. But when you come to you, are doing that real good. It's not a plumber, it's not a carpenter, it's not a etc. Right? But are doing that real good. So I think as men, now I'm not saying that you can be multi-talented. I'm not saying no to that. But at least choose one thing and do it real good. And when you're doing that, even if you're a garbage man, you choose that.
Sanitation engineer.
Yes. you do that real well, and then maybe you move up. But choose something and do it well.
Yeah. So you'll be judged anyway, which is what we're establishing, that you'll be judged anyway. So at least to yourself, you can feel that you're achieving something as a man by just choosing that one thing. Because like your father-in-law, no matter, you could be excellent at your job, you could be excellent at handling your funny business, but at the same time, to everybody else around you in your family, you're a man, but your father-in-law,
He can't.
And no, the funny
Can't
thing-
fix these.
The funny thing is that he hasn't said anything. Huh?
Yeah,
But
He
just
doesn't
me
need to.
personally.
Yeah.
Me
If the
personally,
feeling,
because- yeah,
you're
because
judging yourself. With
judge-
what's going on, you know.
judge
He's
myself.
judging himself.
Because every time something needs fixing, my wife even asking me because she know
Daddy,
that waste of time. She going to many sources. So he has never said anything. He never watched me cut. He never
Yeah.
throw a talk, but it's just that within myself, you know. I was like,
Yeah.
Jed, I should at least learn to fix our TV, you know, because he multi-skilled.
Yeah.
You know, he able to fix air condition. He could, when she calls, like, just describing what's the issue.
Yeah.
He
He will say what
boom,
it is.
X,
Yeah,
Y,
that's
Z.
what it is.
But
Yeah.
can
I
you
know
write?
I know that skill set.
But
So
can you write an article in the Business Guardian? Though?
the funny thing is, the man also talented on
Okay,
that level
well then,
too,
yeah,
boy.
yeah,
So
you
that's
would
what
jump
make
on
it
it, boy.
worse.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
man,
We went there for.
the man skill on that
You're
level
supposed to
too.
do a little more
Because-
research.
Yeah.
Because he also like my wife when she was younger used to sing calypso. I think he used to pen the calypsos. So I can't even throw that and say, well, as a better writer, the man.
You in that boy category, right? You in that boy. Yeah.
And that is the thing. The judging this be so hard, and sometimes we judge ourselves
Sense,
now.
exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
we just
That
judge
is it.
ourselves so hard that
is it.
we just bring on our own depression and incapability.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because we judge ourselves and saying, well, I should know how to do that, you know.
Yeah,
I
that's
should know how to do that, and that alone will make your mind start a spiral. Well, boy, one day if I can't do that, one day if she go and look for a man who could do that, boy.
Who could do it?
Yeah, boy. Who could?
Well,
who could
I wouldn't-
take and-
yeah,
who
well,
could take
I don't
and
know. I don't know.
Suppose
You
suppose
call it.
a
You
man.
call it. Yeah.
Suppose a man come and
carpenter,
suppose you know we
carpenter.
see all these things on TV. Like you see these things on TV. The plumber come and then
Lay
she
pipe.
moving around the plumber and then bam the plumber
Yeah,
dealing with
plumbing,
she case.
plumbing.
And I saying I supposed to know the plumb because
Correct.
suppose a plumber come and
Yeah.
that's
Lay-
my
lay
that's
pipe.
my
And the whole
portion.
house went.
Yeah, what's that?
yeah.
You know, so we just judge ourselves and put ourselves in that hole now,
Correct.
which we're not supposed to do.
Blaze, that I think is one of the hardest points you hit there, you know, because we men really judge ourselves harsh. The funny thing is, in my experience personally and even with clients, when a woman love a man, it don't really matter his flaws. You know. She already know your flaws already, right? And she working with you with it and helping you build it, etc. But you there judging yourself, right? She already know.
Yeah, that's why she don't ask me.
Right.
You understand?
She already know.
She
So,
know. She
so
don't
she
know.
wants you to be the best, whatever your skill set is, she wants you to be the
Yeah,
best of
correct.
that. But we is real judge ourselves.
But that
Yeah, we
comes
come
from
hard.
somewhere. But that comes from somewhere. Your societal influences and your upbringing or lack thereof in certain cases is where that judgment comes from. Because what Joel might judge himself on, I mightn't judge myself. And what I might judge myself on, Joel might be like, I cool with that.
Yeah.
And therefore it has to do with what maybe insecurities I may have. And that insecurity comes with feeling less of a man within, and also projecting that to say maybe that's what she thinks as well. You know, at the moment, you know, with injuries and so on, I put on, you know, I have a different type of six-pack now, a little bit more rounded.
Yeah.
You know, and then so when these other soaps and all these different things come on and a man come, rock, I immediately start to feel like,
You know what you run down and think you feel come please have a you know what I'm saying? Oh,
you know, Blaze looking the same.
Look
you know,
at
so,
that
you know,
six-pack.
you know, I'm feeling confident.
Don't judge yourself.
you know,
Don't judge yourself.
That's how it is, bro.
TV, right? Television, media, now social media, all those things. That is real mess up people. I'm not talking. There's not only men alone, but
People
I mean,
in
we're
general.
talking about
Porn. Yeah, I always
because
say.
not only porn. Anytime you're getting things from outside,
Yeah, no, I just, hey.
no, you trading.
What you
I
was
tuned in
watching?
one
What
time.
you was watching when you wind
No,
up?
Netflix.
Right, so you're seeing all these images. Of course, is not realistic because I'm just saying, do have men with six pack, do have women with good bodies, but that is not the majority of the world, right? And it also people with a six pack sometimes that is their profession, that is what they're doing all the time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
If you're doing something, let's say, you may not have the quote unquote time to dedicate to it. And then when we watch superhero movie, you're looking at Superman, you're looking at Batman, you're looking at everybody ripped.
Yeah.
So now you get a skewed vision. Now I'm not saying that each man
Now
shouldn't
Superman was in
aspire
our speedos, man.
shouldn't aspire to be the
Another
best
vision.
physical form. They
Yeah.
should.
Yeah, of course.
Right? But it may not be the reality for all men. So you see things. So Batman, he rich. He have a six pack.
Yeah.
He has skills fighting. Right? He could get real girls. And then you not watching yourself. So, God, boy.
You don't have a six-pack. You're not rich.
Yeah.
You can't get real girls.
Right?
And you certainly can't go wrong in that costume.
Right?
You get locked up.
But of course, and I'm saying that every man is his own hero. Because if you look at, I mean, I'm not too much of a comic book person, but I've read somebody, the Batman, where Batman later on had to go to therapy. What was the effects of him being that with his son, right? How his son's too now. If you understand what I'm saying, bringing that dimension to it, is that all of us men have things that we're going through. And all of us is a hero in some way. So if you look at yourself as that, again, if you're going, the one thing that you're doing. So you're a blacksmith, you're a hero in that. You're a carpenter, you're a hero in that. You're a writer, you're an entertainer, you're a producer, you're a behavior change consultant. You be a hero in that. So that you could be something you could produce. So at the end of the day, when you come home, you might not be six-pack, but yeah, boy, that article I write was real good. I see some clients on that show I do was real good, you know. And that's what I think each man should hold their own with.
Yeah.
I was watching something on social media again where they were asking, somebody's asking a question saying, who do you call when you're down or when you're feeling at your lowest and stuff like that? And what happened is that a lot of men were saying that, well, nobody.
Yeah.
You know, like a woman was saying, well, I might call my mother, might call my best friend, I might call, there was also always an option available. But like the majority of men were saying, well, no one, you know, like if I feeling at my lowest, I just bite the bullet and deal with it with myself, you know, and I feel like, sometimes I feel like that. Like, you know, when I feeling as though, Dread had a real hard day, or you deal with a million things at the same time, trying to make everything balance, I feel like I'm in the battle by myself now. And sometimes I just wonder if, like, is it because we are, as men, society or otherwise makes us feel that there's nobody else? Being a man means that you hold these things on yourself. Treat it on your own, or have you reached a stage now where seeing a therapist or talking to somebody or even relating on a level like this, you're in a barber shop or you're in a bar or something, like, where do you think we are at this point in time? Are we still at a stage where men feel like, boy, I've been a man, you had to take this thing on your chest by yourself, or have we reached a stage that we could reach out to people?
I think we're somewhere in between that. Right? Because let's use therapy. Therapy now is a thing that a lot of people do. Even as a kind of clout, you know, I have a therapist, etc., etc. Right? I'd say more women might say that, but for men, more men are realizing that they need to talk, right? Because men holding on to a lot of things.
Same people go to therapy.
Last year I had 2 men's retreats, right? And in the men's retreat, I realized there was one man actually, he slept for half of the retreat, and we left him. And we realized afterwards, he said that's one of the best sleeps he ever get. And he said if I was home, I would not be sleeping. And he was just glad to be around men. And he could relax now. And that was really important to me. And anytime I have in any men's group, I always say, when you come, you don't have to do anything. You could stay silent, you could sleep, you could, wherever it is you go to. Because we starting to learn that we need something. Sometimes we don't know exactly what. And we have the traditional, quote-unquote traditional things like in Trinidad, you go to the bar, right? You play football, you play a sport. Now the sport's good, we get out the kinetic energy. But afterwards, sometimes the discussion is not always the healthiest. So you might leave with get out the energy, but you didn't leave with something for here. So now that we understand it a little more, and it's not only me, I see a lot of other men's group doing a lot of things where the conversation is actually being had. And I would encourage any man to, once you're comfortable with our group, and listen, you could have 100 men's group. You don't have to be one. Everybody could do a men's group, but that means there's more resources for men. It could be 10 men, 2 men, however it is. And I'd add, and this is me personally, I committed myself to take at least 1 day for the month for myself. So usually I would call some other men and we'd go, but if nobody come, I would go somewhere and just take some time for myself.
And men now, and the reason why I think a lot of men do come out and say, but Joel, you know, I ain't feeling 100% today. But why, boy? I really didn't, you know, I didn't accomplish this, so I didn't do that. We seem very vulnerable at that point in time, right? And another thing is that you don't want your partner to tell people your business, one. And then you don't want them to think
but go ahead.
Well, and then you don't want them to think, although it might not be that way, that you less than him. he's more man than you, because a lot of things when growing up, I grew up in San Juan, right? And I grew up. Well, yeah, you know, and then a lot of times you talk to men and you'll hear them saying, "Boy, you know, so going on," and because you so, and they're laughing, and you know what I mean. So when you hear that, when you hear somebody else getting it, you not go and tell nobody nothing because you don't want to get it. Yeah. So we have created our own enemy, you know. By doing it to other men. Correct. We are afraid to go to a man to say, especially, let's address the elephant in the room, especially when it comes to the bedroom. You don't want to go and tell a man, Dan, you know, it was real failure, boy, and I'm feeling bad about it. I'm feeling bad about it, and you know, thing a man go be like, Dan, what's going on with you? Get yourself together. Correct. Ting. And then you studying, boy, I know what that man know I feeling. Next thing he going wrong my back and show you what not feeling, you know. So we just afraid of everything wrong, we know. Yeah. And then we supposed to be brave. But that's what a man's supposed to be.
You see, I wanted to continue on that point, but I just want to stick up in there just to say that the other thing that you find is that, and I myself have seen it, a brethren comes to me and has a conversation, you may then take that and say, hey, you listen almost halfway. You're there in your present. We don't always hard to say this is good or bad, or hey, you shouldn't do that. It's more like you're there as a sounding board, or you may agree, or you may
advise,
or you may push it even further, like, boy, go and do X, Y, and Z. And that mightn't be the advice they may need at the particular point, but you also take that on as almost a red card or a red flag for yourself to go home now and you say, hey, well, I wonder if my woman thinks that way. Yeah. And if you at some cases you may have the conversation with your wifey and say, hey, you know, so and so going through this as a confidant, you're almost telling them that. And I'm not always sure, and I'm saying to you that I myself am guilty of this, that not every time are you saying it in the most sincere manner, because you might be saying it to your partner, one, to almost make her feel more confident that, hey, I not like that. I not like that.
Yeah,
right?
I not like him.
I not like him.
Yeah.
Correct. And then further to that, it could be that you're looking at that situation and sort of, like I'm saying, using it as a learning curve to say, okay, well, I need to do better. So instead of really thinking about, and what might be a friend, it might be a colleague, or might just be somebody after a football line, just deciding, hey, you look like somebody that would listen to what I have to say. You're using it to your own benefit. What can I get out of this? And I want to use that. That's why I want to pause there, because that's one of the other things that I find as men, that do we have that grouping, which is why you probably feel that you can't disclose it to other men, where a woman comes out and says something, like Carnival. I remember a friend of mine had said something on the internet about, you know, letting loose or something like that. And the amount of women then shared her comments, and they rally around one another, right? Men, and again, I'm not speaking on behalf of all men, I'm speaking on behalf of this man. And what I hear is that we simply don't do that. We are looking for an opportunity. We're looking to say something. Or if, for example, Joel tells me something, I'm like, hey, do I rally behind his comment if it's offending other women or may be perceived as offending other women? I want to hold on to my woman. I don't want to be left in the doghouse. I want some later.
Somewhat.
Well, that some could be funny business. It could be business fun. It could be that I could sit on the couch and watch Netflix. So I just wanted to presence that as other parts of conversation that we could have. To your point, and I apologize if I felt that.
Of course.
I'll add an element to that, because and this some research I've been doing, and because I've heard it from other men too in other cultures. So I'm going to say something. Caribbean men generally is not the most masculine men compared to other men in the world, right? We have a lot of female tendencies, see, bacchanal and them kind of thing. That's not a masculine trait, right? Yeah. So if compared to some European men, I would say maybe some white American men also. But this is from my experience and also speaking to other men. Now, I'm bringing up that point because you see these things like brotherhood, that's something that men in other cultures have. So that I'm a brother. Even though I don't know him personally, that's still my brother. I want to big him up. I want to fortify him. It's like that movie 300, where he was talking about man to man, shoulder to shoulder. I don't really see that in the Caribbean, right? We tend to, not all men, we tend to find something to bring somebody down instead of building them up.
Yeah.
I'm highlighting that because...
Light them up on the rundown and things like that, yeah.
True.
Right.
Yeah. Some of them deserve it.
I am in myself making the effort to become I'm more masculine, because looking at the other men in the world and seeing what makes them successful. So, and then talking to the other men, some of these things that we need, and that's why things like when you hear people talk about Freemasons, lodges, gentlemen's club and thing, in those places, they have lip sealed, brother to brother, building up each other, etc., etc. And I was thinking, why it have to be some sort of society you have to get in? Why it have to be some sort of club that, quote unquote, sometimes elitist, versus we learning? And this now will take effort from men. Effort from men, because if we continue bringing ourselves down, that is only to our detriment. That is now, and the thing is, I don't necessarily even have to like Joel, you know, right? But the point is, he's a man like me, right? And if he, let's say Joel, has a problem with me, I mean, I'm probably going back in the days, but let Joel and I deal with it. Not I put it on Facebook,
Correct.
You know, thing. The shoo-shooing. Becoming a little more hard, right? Now, I know we could question what hard mean and so forth and so on, but being a little more, and I would say, in my opinion, masculine is one, learning how to keep the shot, managing emotions, right? And then also not looking to bring down another brother.
Correct.
And that way, if we start cultivating that, then somebody say, you know, I could talk to you and say, so in my field, by lawyers, they sign a contract about confidentiality. So you know to come. But I learned this from actually my mother. My mother is somebody who don't really care about nobody's business. And that's what I grew up seeing. And I used to test things too, to see, I put something to see if she go look at it, etc. She never used to look at it. And then she was a teacher. So she had a lot of people's information. And I used to listen. Somebody say, hey, you know, so talk about John. She know the information about John, but never say a word. And she never had that, you know, something, you have a piece of information and you just kind of...
You can't wait.
Quick to let go.
I didn't grow up around that at all. So that was instilled in me also. And I saw the value of it. Even my wife, you could ask her. Sometimes she don't know nothing about nobody. And somebody comes and say, well, I thought your answer tell you that. She's like, he don't tell me nothing, you know. And that's what I learned. And I think that's an important code for men to even help them be comfortable to come and share.
Yeah, that is
a safe space.
It must, and I think it must be increased because of what we've been seeing in society. I mean, we as men say, oh God, you know, we need to be there for one another, but we're not practicing it. We're really not, because we set in our old ways in the old culture, as Yoansi brought it up, you know, that thing, and this one say this and that one say that, and our scores for you, boy, if you know, that's how we are. You know what I mean? So I guess, you know, we really need to probably step out of that a little bit and understand that we need to be our brother's keeper, and we need to just hold up our brother sometimes, because we have weak moments, you know. We have weak moments, and we might have several weak moments during the day. You know what I mean? But we don't want to seem weak. So we would not express anything to anybody. We ain't expressing it to man, woman, or child. We just standing up and taking it. Because that and all is part of being a man. Stand up and take it as it is and go forward still. But sometimes it really would take an effect on you now. Unknowingly. To the untrained person. Unknowingly. And sometimes men just fly off the handle and thing, and you wonder what our man getting on so by. A little thing in here, and he fly off just so it work. You know what I mean? And you wonder, and then when you really check into that person, lifestyle or something personal reveal itself, you say, wait, boy, but then you see what I'm going through, boy. I'm going through real thing there. You know what I mean? But he just taking it now. You know? So that's something that men go through all the time, and sometimes I guess, you know, we need to get in contact with each other on a different level.
And also to let other men know. And that's what I'm hoping that we achieve here in some small form or fashion through this chat, to allow people to say, hey, this is a safe space. You mightn't you mightn't vocalize, you mightn't write in, but then you may listen, and that you will know that you are not alone.
Yeah.
That we talk about things like bedroom antics.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Another one that we hope to discuss in other episodes to come. Domestic violence, equality, what we understand by this term that keeps going around, equality.
Right.
These are some of the things that we will be talking about, sharing some of our own thoughts, opinions, and even in certain cases our personal experiences. Yeah. And to get out from that men will know you're not alone, and that it's okay. And in this case, to say it in a proverbial fashion, it's okay to cry. And to express to other men. I don't know if with the advent of social media and things like that, it's a lot easier to get part of the mauvais langue, as we would say. And you brought up the point of Caribbean men. We like bacchanal. That's part of it. Something go wrong is, hey, and you want to be there with your sister,
Correct.
talking about the same things. Be part of it too, because it's about what you may deem that at that moment as funny, or conversation. It doesn't matter whether it's man, woman, but at the same time, they themselves, and in this case, the they I'm speaking about is females, band together in certain cases when it counts, or that perception.
Now they also tear down each other very quickly.
Correct.
Yeah? I mean,
correct.
Females is
Just
deal with one another real dread.
Brutal.
Correct.
I mean,
When you say something specific, Blaze, up to the gender, if we bring up equality, if we bring up something to do with there's a band that comes together.
Yeah.
I could guarantee you, if I say something or you say something on a solo vibes based on maybe even Johannes' comments about Caribbean men, how many people are going to band behind what he just said, apart from the gentleman on this table, apart from maybe a couple of his true brothers, apart from somebody who may really genuinely believe in Johannes? There's not going to be an outcry of support. And that again is, maybe it's my opinion, maybe it's my perception, what I've seen, but we're in our particular fields, we're open to a lot, to be able to see a lot. So I think it's a good premise to base it on that is the general behavior for something that happens. Somebody just say, if we came out and start a cry, would brothers turn up and say, hey, that man, that's what it takes to be a real man? No, but kind of, man, that is
we're crying for, eh?
Yeah,
We're crying for.
But
we're crying for. It's like, what are you crying for? If you're crying for small things, then I say, Daniel, come on.
Pull up yourself.
Yeah.
Come on. Be a man.
That's true what you're saying, Robert, because in my experience and my observation also, women could bad talk each other, but you can't bad talk them. Right?
Yeah.
But
My
we don't
point.
have that. We bad talk each other and allow people to bad talk them.
My point.
Right?
You encourage it. You listen.
Right?
And now, this actually just came to me based on some things I read, right? What they were saying, that's because in the world, less, I using the term I saw, less masculine men or beta males were allowed to start ruling society. And those, this is something I had actually last night. It said that those men couldn't get women, right?
The beaters.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So they would do anything to tear down the men that would get the woman.
Okay.
And then that became the prevalent culture. Now, again, this is not in all countries of the world. Right? So let me use the Caribbean. Let me use somebody Caribbean here. So you bad talk a man, right? And then you try to get the girl.
Yeah.
Right?
Dirty water.
That's common.
Just sand in the rice. Yeah.
Right. And that in itself, you're saying that's not a masculine trait, because you would carry that to other parts of your life. So now in the workplace, you're trying to cut down somebody. And that's not a masculine trait. It's either you're good at it or you're not good at it. The kind of bacchanal and the social manipulation, which according to research is more the woman's territory. We men now start taking this up, and that's not part of the masculine part of it. So after a while, you just kind of have a society of feminine energy.
Is it that we're manipulating that shoulder to cry on then? Because in using that same context, a woman is going through whatever she may be going through with her significant other, and comes to you, and you instead of saying, hey, that's what a man does, or going positive for the brother, you in the end go, I wouldn't move, so come on take
a man is a
Yeah, what kind of man is that?
kind of man.
but at the end of the
plenty of them.
but it's plenty of them, let's be honest. And by the time you look around, that fella there inside, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, this is something where, boy, it's a culture thing, it's a psychological thing. I don't know if it's a DNA thing. I have no proof studied like my brother here, but it's something that I don't know if it's ingrained, boy. And a lot of us men are learned we kind of try to learn to be men ourselves now. We don't have a guide, like a proper guide. It don't have a book
or a rite of passage.
Yeah, we just kind of gauge it along. Oh well, I see he do that. That don't look too mannish. This one look a little mannish. I ain't gonna do this. I'll do this. And it's like a mush pot of different things now. So sometimes we get lost in that. Sometimes we get lost in that too.
I agree.
And we don't know how to come back out. It just becomes part of our personality, and then we have children, and then it continues, and then
correct.
It goes on and on and on. So I really don't know. I mean, I read the Bible, and biblical men. The biblical men that are written about are very strong men. They never wrote about weak men. They wrote about strong men who did this and who, right or wrong, had good kings and bad kings,
correct.
but they wrote about the kings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you take a little bit from David, and then you take a little bit from Solomon. Solomon had plenty of women. So you say, well, that part I ain't gonna really do that part. I'll get in trouble. I'll take a little thing where he used to pray strong, and he was a strong man. I'll take a little bit of Samson, but I wouldn't get fooled by Delilah. So you're just going along kind of, but nobody really teaching you. You have to find your way, and probably finding your way is part of being a man.
But Blaze, I want to jump off of your point you made there. So I was having a conversation with a partner a few weeks ago now, and I love Bob Marley.
Yeah.
Fantastic artist, everything like that, right? So I was trying to analyze, the conversation was kind of analyzing Bob Marley, right? So it started off saying that, if Bob Marley was in this time now, some of the things that he would have been doing, they might have tried to bring him down, right? All right. But the conversation I was really trying to have then is that Bob Marley was like focused on creating a generation now, creating something for so he's now down to like grandchildren, and the grandchildren still living off of the Bob Marley legacy. But at that point in time when he was alive, he wasn't really a daddy.
No.
He had a lot of children. But I can't say that like a Junior Gong or Ziggy were up under him regularly. His focus was on building future, which is what we see it now. So the question was, which is more important now? Like, do you, because obviously, spending time with your children and obviously, connecting with them on that level is, you cannot discount that.
Right.
But in terms of like focus on work and building, all right, this is not just for me, but I want to know that 3 generations down, my family still the Julian name now, the Julian name, 3 generations down know that. But your children may kind of, if it is your focus on specifically that, your children might not necessarily get the best of you as a father.
It might fall by the wayside.
Where does that sacrifice come in? Because
so that's the question now,
like balance.
The balance.
That balance.
So you've built that for them. But at the same time, would they recognize that at that point when they want the nurturing?
At that,
And later on, would they then recognize, if you do become like a Bob Marley, the Julian name does carry through like that, would they then recognize, oh, I now see what my dad was trying to do for me?
Right.
Steve Jobs wrote that in his book when he was talking about Apple, that he dedicated his entire life to building that empire. Right. But the children, as a result, fell at the wayside. There was no guidance.
There was nobody to teach them anything.
And
if he had boys, nobody teaching them.
Correct. And as a matter of fact, they turned out that they disliked their father.
And that is
and
that,
then
that is it.
And so how do you know that you are going to become that? Did Bob Marley know that he was going to?
How do you
be
say?
Bob Marley?
Do you say laser focus on that, or do you? What is our balance?
Your point you bring up, Julian, and all of that you're asking, Robert, you realize how much effort it takes to be a man.
Right.
Right? And I say that because sometimes always argument, which one had a woman or man? Everybody had a different things to carry. And a good analogy I like to look at is, you all know the Greek god Atlas?
Yeah.
Right. Atlas is carry the world on his shoulders.
Right.
Atlas can't stumble, you know. Because if he stumble, what happens?
That's it.
Mash up on the
Right?
ground.
He can't body tired. He have to do what he doing. He can't say, oh God, I'm hungry, etc., etc. And I like that as a good analogy for what we men are.
Right.
Right? Because sometimes it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. And somebody said balance. Now, balance is possible, but the same way how you could be laser focused on something, you have to be laser focused on the balance also.
Okay.
So let me give you an example. So let's say 6 o'clock every day, I go in and spend time with my son. You got to be laser focused on that. Now, it could be an hour, and the rest of the day is dedicated to work. So you're spending 10 hours in work, but 1 hour with your son or your daughter. But you stay consistent. So going back to the rock analogy, a rock is consistent. So that child now knows every day at 6 p.m., daddy there. And in my experience with children and their fathers, that consistency is necessary. I'll give you all a story. Sometimes, to be honest, thinking about it, I feel a little emotional. This is when I was doing...
It's okay to cry.
Thanks. This is when I was doing doing counseling for a custody case. Right? The mom was keeping his son away from the father. And every time he go, she always used to, no, you can't see your son. And the son used to be looking at him from the window. And he said, wherever he bring gifts or wherever he bring, he couldn't give the son nothing.
But she used to leave it there.
But he used to come. He did that, I think it's about 6 years, every Sunday, and he never get to actually physically touch his son. But he did it. So his son learned, even though I didn't get to play with daddy or touch daddy or be around daddy always there Sunday at 6 o'clock. And because of that, when he became 18, his son was 18, he said, well, who was there for you? He could say, daddy. Now somebody might say, well, he never come no football game, he never wear it. But he knew that my father was there. And what that man went through, because even for me, I tell you something like my pause reason. To go and you know you're not going and see your son, or you hope to see your son, or you realize you mightn't get to see, but to still go. Every time. And believe it or not, he and his son now have a real healthy relationship. Even when he didn't actually get to talk to his son like that, that was still healthy, you know. Because his son know, hey, daddy there now, even though you didn't get. So I put in it that way because I'm going back with that consistency. Sometimes we wonder, should it be 2 hours, should it be 3 hours, how long should I spend? And I don't know no perfect parents, I don't know no perfect mothers, I don't know no perfect fathers. But the consistency, again, I'm going back with that. If you're doing something, you're doing it well and you're doing it consistent. Because somewhere along the line, somebody might say, you should have spent an hour and a half, you should have spent 45 minutes instead, but you know, right? And then I think, Blaze, yes, you're speaking about the Bible, and he said the prophets, they were strong men, but they wasn't perfect men.
They weren't perfect.
Right? And there's a quote I heard that says, you don't have to be right, but at least you need to be sure. And that, I think, is a good tenet for a man. If you're doing something, you do it. Now, it might be a mistake after, it didn't turn out the way you want after. But you go full throttle with that, even though it may not be the right thing all the time. And I think with that, we might be perfect men again, but we could get we could reach 90%, we could reach, and at least inspire the other men around. Because now, let's say, if that same case I tell you was a daughter, she would not be looking for a husband. Well, it had to be a man who checking for me right
consistent.
If you understand what I'm saying. So she now get that value from her father, even though she didn't get all them years, gain him a hug, etc., etc. If it's a boy now, the boy have the same thing with now. My father do this for me, I could do this for my son, I could do this for my children.
What you're saying there is so correct, because we have a program on my morning show with Miles on a Tuesday. We speak about relationships and things. And last week or week before, a young lady called and she said, we was asking, what was a perfect man for you? What is a man supposed to do?
Right.
And she was saying that her dad, like, if somebody trouble her, a man's supposed to be strong, because if somebody, like, if she coming up the road and a man trouble her, the father put on his jersey and go for them. You know what I mean? I tell them, hey, ting, whatever. And she said somebody had trouble her in a party and the boyfriend didn't do that. So that's her ex-boyfriend now.
Sure.
One time.
So she now, in terms of even women, how women look at it, they are trained to look at a man in a certain way based on the man they have interaction with.
Correct.
Now she wants a man to fight for she.
Yeah.
But then our next guy call and say, well, if you wear tights and you pull it right up and you wear a navel breaker, and a man say, well, I'm girl, where you from? Buff Bay? He say, I'm not going in to fight with them because I might get a cocktail there. So he not going through that. You put yourself in that, you understand. So it's just the different ways. But she wants somebody to go and tell him, man, have some respect.
Correct.
Otherwise, I'll hit your bellas and we go settle this right here and right now because that's what she know of a man being like that.
Yeah.
Confrontational and not going through that.
Yeah.
You know?
And that itself could bring up many other topics. I could imagine somebody comments, when you say you look for that. That in itself is a whole other conversation.
That is a whole next conversation.
Because you mightn't have your man there. It might just be you going out with a couple girls or something.
And then people could wear what they want. Last time I checked, right?
Yeah.
Last time I checked.
But we
have wear what they want.
But we have a lot of episodes. We have a lot of episodes that come. This is not something as a one-off. I just want to put it out there. We're not encouraging. We're not encouraging any fisticuffs and so on. But I want us to I think this has been a very healthy and a very encouraging good start. And just to bring it to some close for this particular one, to really say, in my opinion, and we can go around the table, what I have taken away that in that one thing that you had mentioned, that we if it's one thing out of the 5 we take away, let's focus on one. For me, it would be to be a man. I would like to focus on the brotherhood and to stay away from what might be considered the Caribbean men's way of doing something, that I don't want to be part and parcel of that. I want to start, not that I was that person before, but just to make sure and reinforce and to do my part to encourage that brotherhood so that men have that space to be able to have those discussions, to be able to say what they need to say. And I would like to think that if anybody on this table, say for example, came and we had that discussion, that what you'd be going away with was something better and not leave feeling worse, like a offload. Yeah. So for me, that's what I took away from this particular discussion.
Okay.
Yeah. For me, one of the things that you take away from me is our consistency. That there'll be no specific blueprint of what a perfect man is. We haven't received that. What a man needs to do, anything like that. But at the end of the day, it's just a consistency and being consistent in the things that we want to do. And that the last analogy that I gave with the custody case and the father being there, also the takeaway that it will never be too late to try and be the father that you want to be. Because we all go through different situations, circumstances, either around the table or otherwise, that may not be ideal, but it's always just trying to be the best version of yourself that you can be, whether it be a man or otherwise.
My takeaway is that all definitions of men, how men define themselves, I think is valid. And even though I may have a different opinion exactly what a man is, listening to other men give me knowledge too and give me more depth in terms of me understanding myself. And there's a term that I hear often, iron sharpen iron.
Right. Yeah,
right?
Iron sharpen iron.
And I enjoy in the discourse, and I think it could really inspire other men. So I'm looking forward to more iron sharpening iron.
Yeah. This is and this is my takeaway is that this is a discussion that we need to have. Yeah. Whether we're pioneering it on this level in terms of media and the media level or not, whatever. But this is something that we need to have more often because we need to know. I think men need a safe space. I think men need a safe space and they need people who they can go to because for far too long, we by ourselves. And it's the society and the culture and nationally and internationally is getting more and more heavier for us now. The weight is getting heavier. So we need somewhere and someone to offload to, and we need to understand that some things are okay, but we also need to understand that some things are not okay.
Yeah, draw a line.
We need to draw the line because
really glad
it's plenty blurred lines going on too,
yes,
you know.
Yes.
Where it have youth men, they don't really know what is going on. They don't know how to flex now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's how we came up with this.
So you
this
have to
particular
have
show.
that. You have to have that. It's like something solid that you can say, I go hold on to this. Now. It's solid now.
Correct.
It's not moving. You're moving the goalpost.
That
rock. Yeah, you need that rock. And
Correct.
that's what men need.
Yeah.
That's what men who growing up. It's quite a man who's 40 and didn't find himself yet, you know.
Yeah.
It's not only a 18-year-old or 17-year-old, well, as a teenager, and are now discovering girls and things. It's a man who is 40 and 50 and up to
still
now,
don't know.
they didn't find themselves yet. They don't understand themselves.
Yeah.
You know, so hopefully with this program now, we can help some people understand themselves.
Correct.
And you mentioned about, just in closing, you mentioned about blurred lines. And the point of manhood is to give clarification to certain things, because there are certain things that are just outright. It's not up for discussion, it's not up for debate, it's not a perception. It's
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
There's right and there's wrong.
Yeah.
And what we hope to discuss here is the right, the wrong, and also perception. And as we had all discussed about judgments, that what it takes to be a man might be different to someone else, but then they're fundamental.
Yes.
They're fundamental things that it takes to be a man.
Right.
And
correct.
through the discussion and the conversations that we have through manhood is something that we definitely will hope to allow for that safe space. First, it's a space and a safe space, and to encourage that
I
brotherhood.
could change safe because to me safe space can have a little negative connotation.
Okay.
Like we call it a real space.
A real space. I
Real
like
space.
that.
You
A
take
real
that.
space.
You go take
So
that.
manhood, a real space.
Yeah, it's a real space.
And
It's not a fake space.
correct. So take care, like the rundown. But so gents, this was eye opening. I hope to the people that listen to it will be eye opening. And this is not just a space or a real space for males, but it's a real space for all to listen to and to all to contribute. Because going forward, we just want to make sure it's better and that there is a brotherhood that's outside of maybe the Caribbean way of doing things, and that it's just a space that leads to positivity. So Joel, Johanse, Blaze, myself, Robert, this was a good one. I'm picking the next topic. Toxic masculinity.
All right.
Is a big
Toxic
one.
masculinity.
Toxic
Yeah, we
masculinity.
can hit that.
Yeah.
See you then.